Okay, so this is the Nubia Z80 Ultra. It's powered by the latest and greatest Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, has a ridiculously massive 7,200 mAh silicon carbon battery, and starts from just £579. And for what I'm about to show you, it's got me thinking, for companies that charge £1,000 plus for smartphones like Apple and Samsung, how have they not done this? Let me explain. Before we start, a quick thanks to Nubia for partnering with me for this video so that I can showcase this to you early. And as a result, this isn't a full review as such, but more of an overview of some of the best features that I'm generally impressed with, and ones that I think you'll love. Like for starters, this seriously dramatic design. The finish has this sort of cosmic holographic sheen to it, like light rippling under the surface. Not glossy, not matte, almost like a shifting nebula under the panel. And the way it catches the light is super cool. For sure, it won't be for everyone, especially if you prefer something a little bit more understated, but honestly, I've not seen another phone look anything like this. And it's one of the first times in a while that I've actually looked at a smartphone and gone, okay, that's actually different. Especially when you consider how safe and even maybe slightly stagnant other phones from the likes of Apple and Samsung have become. And another thing those two brands haven't done on their flagship phones is go full screen. Bezel to bezel, zero interruptions, like this Z80 Ultra. And just look at that display. No notch, no punch hole, no dynamic island, just total screen. And the way Nubia have gone true full screen is by positioning the selfie camera under that display panel, and you really can't see it's there, even if you look right up closely. It's a serious achievement. I remember originally when we first had the under the display camera tech, you could see like a little square, the pixels looked a little bit different, a different shade, and it was good, but you knew it was there. You really can't see it here. And this is one of those things that when you do go back to a notch or a dynamic island or a punch hole cutout, it then just feels a little bit old, and you notice it instantly when you're watching content. That display we're talking about is a 6.85-inch X10 OLED 2688 by 1216 resolution. It's 144Hz refresh, so super smooth, and has up to 2000 nits peak brightness, so bright enough to use outdoors. And the panel is actually made by BOE, and they are one of the largest and most advanced display makers in the world, supplying panels to the likes of Huawei, Honor, some Samsung phones, believe it or not, iPhones as well, depending on the model and region and year. And the Z80 Ultra has 2592Hz high-frequency PWM dimming. Now, PWM dimming, if you don't know, stands for pulse width modulation. It's a lot of wordy jargon. It basically means that on an OLED screen, instead of lowering the brightness by making the pixels glow less, the screen rapidly turns the pixels on and off. It happens so fast that your eyes don't really see that flicker, they just perceive it as being dimmer. The higher the PWM frequency, the less your eyes will actually notice that flicker, helping to reduce eye strain, headaches, tiredness, dry eyes, and just all around feeling a little bit weird after long screen use, especially at night time. You also have SGS low blue light, which is a certification meaning the display has been tested and confirmed to emit reduced levels of potentially eye-straining blue wavelengths and a touch response of up to 3000 Hz instant sampling, which will interest a lot of you gamers out there, I'm sure. Similar to how screen refresh rates are measured, the 3000 Hz touch sampling means the phone checks where your finger placements are up to 3000 times per second, making touch input feel faster and more instant. Time to take down those first-person shooter enemies with ease. There's the more secure ultrasonic fingerprint sensor under the display rather than the optical type that is often used, and this uses sound wave reflections to map fingerprint ridges, which generally makes it more consistent too, even if your finger isn't perfectly dry. And this is another really cool thing about the Z80 Ultra's display overall, as it's tuned to still work with wet hands, like if it's lightly raining, for example. Now in the hand, it's definitely giving Samsung Galaxy Note 9, 10 vibes, and that's definitely a good thing. I feel that was a great smartphone era. But one thing that's come a long way since then is smartphone photography. And the Z80 Ultra is no different. Now Nubia has a very clear philosophy here The main lens is set to 35mm, which is designed to make images look natural and not artificially wide or distorted like the default 24 or 28 like you see on a lot of smartphones. I really like this focal length because it still allows you to capture the subject clearly while still showing some of the scenery that you don't get on, say, a 50 or an 85mm, for example. You do have those two options though if you did want to punch in and have sole focus on a product or person in a portrait, for example, and the phone suggests portrait mode too, where you can blur the background for that cinematic quality. That main lens is a 50MP f1.7 large 1/1.3 sensor, and you also have a 64MP telephoto with OIS and a 50MP ultra wide with autofocus, which also doubles as a macro. You have a light and shadow master 990 sensor, which Nubia says is for fast, accurate focusing, especially when moving, because this phone has something that I didn't expect at this price point: AI motion capture. This mode is designed to help track and freeze fast movement for sports, kids playing, and of course pets like Barney here, who can't sit still. And this mode still enables you to keep the subject nice and sharp. This kind of feature should, in my opinion, be pretty commonplace by now, but a lot of phones still don't have it. And you also have a dedicated 2-stage physical shutter button as well on here on the frame. You half press for focus and full press to actually shoot, just like a real camera. This again won't be for everyone, similar to the idea on the iPhone, but great for true photographer enthusiasts. And something which you can't do on the iPhone, you can here. You can remap that button too for things like a gaming trigger or to open an app or a shortcut, and I think that's a great idea. It gives you the option, if you don't want to use it for the camera, you can use it for something else. Again, lacking. Now, we mentioned the front camera under that display, and to be completely open and honest, this isn't going to deliver the finest selfies on the market because you do have that display panel over the top. But in good lighting, the 16MP sensor does a reasonable job, and of course, as a result, you have that complete uninterrupted full screen experience for movies, TV shows, and gaming, which is aided by that supremely powerful, yes, you heard it here, Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. We have the top tier flagship chip, the most premium going from Qualcomm, going into something at this price point, which is really, really stellar. I was in Hawaii for the Snapdragon Summit last month, where this was actually launched, not this phone, the chip, and boy is it impressive. Gaming on this full screen display combined with that chipset is absolutely incredible. I've played a bit of Genshin Impact, things like Call of Duty, and the Z80 Ultra absolutely crushes. It can maintain stable frame rates with maxed out settings without a lag or shutter in sight. Built on that new 3nm process with a 4.6 GHz prime core, you'll get a 23% improvement in overall performance with a 35% CPU power efficiency improvement and up to 37% faster on-device AI, which actually ties in nicely with what you can do with this phone itself. Because the AI features on here are actually ones you'll recognize and probably already use daily. For example, in Gmail, you can have emails rewritten, summarized, or expanded automatically. You'll have Circle to Search, which can give you proper spoken explanations of what you're circling, not just web links, and the Gemini voice assistant sits at the center of that. So voice commands and answers are consistent across the device. You've also got Google Lens for instantly identifying objects or products from the camera, and in Google Translate, the newer Gemini language model just makes translations feel more natural, especially in live conversation mode. So you get this really familiar, effortless, helpful layer of AI across your everyday apps. And all of this is navigated through on Nebula AI OS over the top of the latest Android 16. And it's fast, fluid, and feels a little like stock Android in some areas, but also has a few snazzed up bits like where you can customize the sidebar and communication settings, etc. This fast and smooth experience is aided by an insane 28GB of LPDDR5X RAM, including up to 12GB extended. Like, what are we even doing at this point with smartphone RAM? Absolute powerhouse, and my version here also comes with 512GB of UFS 4.1 storage. As well as that massive 7,200 milliamp hour battery. You also get 80-watt wired charging and 80-watt wireless charging too. Again, one of those moments where I'm genuinely thinking, how are Apple and Samsung not on this level of fast charging yet? On top of that, you've got dual speakers with DTS-X Ultra, 5 microphones, X-axis vibration motor, an IR blaster, USB-C 3.2, and IP68 and 69 water and dust resistant rating, which brings protection against high pressure water jets too. All of this for a starting price of just £579, and there are launch offers too that I'll leave in the video description, so potentially even more money off. So who is this for? Well, if you like phones that take risks, then this is certainly one of them. If you want flagship top-tier performance, a true full-screen experience, that cosmic back design, experimental photography, especially street and portrait shooting using that 35mm lens, and a physical shutter button, ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, 80-watt wireless charging, 80-watt wired charging, and a huge 7,200 mAh battery. It all adds up to, why aren't more brands doing this, especially at their price? This isn't trying to be a plain understated phone, it's trying to be something a bit different. It's pushing those boundaries, and honestly, you have to applaud it. The Z80 Ultra has some genuinely exciting ideas, and I'm all for it. Thanks again to Nubia for partnering with me for this overview. Let me know what you think of this in the comment section below. Are you possibly thinking about picking one of these up? Do you think that these sorts of brands could do more? As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. My name's Adam. You've been the best as always. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it and found it helpful. Subscribe for more great tech. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. SBYT, peace out.